Uh,
Who knows,
chicken,
man? He's
chicken.
probably drunk or something. Who
Yeah,
knows?
chicken. Or are you drunk? Like I'm looking at some of your comments here. I'm not sure exactly. He's not even tuned in right now, but he'll tune in here in a minute. I'm not quite sure exactly what chicken's
He's
talking about. But whenever he sees this, he can let us know what he's talking about. But hey, everybody, thank you for tuning in. Today I'm joined by Jason. Jason, how are you doing today?
What's up, man? I'm doing good. How are you?
Go ahead and let everybody know where they can find you just so we can go ahead and dive in because Bedlam's here and I'm excited to talk about Bedlam.
Hall of Fame college football right here on YouTube. It's at CFB-pod, and then you can find us at hofmedia.us. That's our website. It'll take you everywhere you want to be.
Now,
On Twitter, obviously, it's just at JW_HOF.
now, is this your first time being on the PG show? I think I know I've been on with other people on other shows, but is this your first time being on
I
here?
think it might be, man. I think it might be my inaugural time on the PG show.
All right, you've
Yeah.
popped the cherry, I guess. So, I don't do a lot of lives, so
Yeah.
that's something I got to do better. I got to do better at getting in the lives. But I want to talk about Bedlam. Last Bedlam for a while, a lot of drama here. Quite frankly, Oklahoma State not wanting to continue the rivalry. I think this just makes it all of the better. But what are just some of your initial thoughts going into the weekend about Bedlam, whether it's around the injuries, the series, and the rivalry itself? Like, does this game mean the most out of any other game we've played?
No, but it means a lot. I think that it's a shame that it's not going to continue on, but it for all the stuff that's going up and out there, I would tell you that it's about it's definitely about Mike Gundy's record in Bedlam more than it is about anything else. You know what I mean? So I would tell you that when you're 3-15 and 1-7 in games that would potentially put you in the conference championship game, that's what it's about. He doesn't want to play the game. So that's just all there is to it. It's all about that.
I'm still under the mindset that this rivalry can return a lot sooner than people think.
If
And
they fire him,
well, I don't. Gundy really doesn't have a say in this. If Fox Sports
I
and
think he does.
ESPN decide that they want Bedlam played every single year and they're going to alternate that, listen, those media companies, they have the say so in whether this rivalry is played. So I love
but
it.
he's got in charge. He's been in charge of the whole deal.
Yeah, and it's kind of stupid that Oklahoma State doesn't want to play this rivalry because let's say you beat Oklahoma every 3 years. Because I think if you go look at it in recent, I think that's kind of what they've like they almost beat us every 3 years, or they do beat us every 3 years at this point. And so if you look at the rivalry with the Oklahoma going to the SEC and this being an out of conference game, this actually could look really good for Oklahoma State because the years that you do beat Oklahoma, and let's be honest, let's not act like Oklahoma just is going to win this rivalry forever. Like there's going to be times where we lose. Like those could be the years that it catapults you maybe into a top 4 seed or catapults you into the playoffs with as a 2 or 3 loss team. So Oklahoma State not playing this game, I think actually hurts them more than it helps them because we're expanding the 12 teams. Like if you lose to Oklahoma and like, let's say you have 2 or 3 losses, like we all know what SEC losses look like to the College Football Playoff Committee.
Yeah, no, I've been saying this, and I had Cody Stowall from Locked On Oklahoma State on the show last night, and he agrees. You know, it's one of those things where, to me, it's I think that this is going to hurt Oklahoma State a lot because I think it's going to hurt them in recruiting. I think it's going to hurt them in being competitive too, because when you're not having to get up for that game every year on a year-to-year basis, I think it takes some of the edge away from you. And I think also some of these guys that aren't necessarily getting recruited by SEC schools, but if they could get on with the program that they know they're going to play in SEC school every year, it would be huge. And I think it would make a big difference for them. But I just think that when you don't have to worry about losing that game, I think it's going to make you softer. And I just look at the Texas when Texas and ATM and Texas ATM, Texas A&M stopped playing. They both kind of, they started off, A&M's done a few things right early on, but they've never really done anything other than beating Alabama every few years. You know what I mean? But and then Texas has been irrelevant for freaking 14 years. So I mean, essentially, I don't think it helped it. I think the biggest thing is that it's competition, man, and you know, iron sharpens iron. I think it's a bad idea.
Yeah, and the Texas A&M rivalry not being played has definitely hurt Texas because A&M has came in and we've seen what they've done in NIL, and I'm kind of under the mindset if they play that rivalry, Texas wins it, like let's say 80% of the time,
Yeah.
they probably keep a lot of those
I think
guys
it's
away
pretty
from
similar
A&M.
to like the Oklahoma State record for OU. I don't think it's a whole lot off of that.
Yeah,
But yeah,
but is it Texas that has the? Because I mean, I think it was A&M that didn't want to play it because A&M was trying to keep Texas
absolutely.
out of the SEC, and
Yeah,
I'm so excited we get this the first year in the SEC. Like I'm so happy to watch this game again, and I really hope they put it on Thanksgiving weekend like it used to be.
yeah, I think that's the plan. I think that's the plan. Although I still think that A&M's kicking and screaming over it. They don't really care to do anything with it. But I know that the SEC they didn't care what they said because they didn't want Texas or Oklahoma in, and you know they just said, well, too bad. You know,
The thing that pisses me off about people not wanting to play these rivalries, and especially now that we're going to 12 teams, I feel like a lot of these
that's football
rivalries should
is,
get
bro.
renewed. Is
Yeah,
it's 12 teams, and if you're in the SEC and the Big Ten, I
yeah.
guarantee you the SEC is probably getting, and there's probably an under the table deal where the SEC is getting 2 to 3 teams and the Big Ten's getting 2 to 3 teams, guaranteed. I guarantee you there
Oh,
is
you know
no
that.
way they did not have an influence
I
on
think
that.
there's going to be years that you'll get 4 teams from both of those conferences.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
think there
So
I think there will be. You know,
yeah.
I
So
just think that that's just going to be how it is, and that's where it's heading is to that 2 big conferences, maybe 3. You know, I mean, I don't know. It may not be, you know, just 2, but because I think really you're looking at 3 more than likely. Although you just have to wait and see kind of what happens. And I think until the big guys really want to freaking eat more, then that's when it'll change. But honestly, I just think right now, yeah, they're definitely setting it up for the SEC and the Big Ten, and you know, everybody else will get kind of the leftovers. But I still feel like as long as the ACC and the Big 12 are around, they should be able to get 2 in every few years or whatever, you know, like that. But you're definitely going to see, um, you're going to see the SEC and the Big Ten at least with 3, I would think, more years than not. Hey, what's up,
yeah,
Bishop Frank?
and
Lori,
I'm
Lane,
curious to
everybody's in.
see. I'm curious to see who's going to run the table in the Big 12. So obviously, I think your favorites are K-State. I think they've got to be at the top. Utah's got to be at the top. But outside of that, I'm kind of curious who's going to solidify themselves in that top 3. Is it going to be an Oklahoma State? Is it going to be a Kansas? And I think Oklahoma State's going to fit well in this new model because I think they're going to be better than a lot of the teams, especially maybe even maybe in recruiting. I mean, I feel like
No,
Oklahoma
no,
State can.
I think that the only thing about that PGA, it seems like it's gonna be tougher on them when you got Coach Prime coming in and he's doing the things that he's doing in recruiting, and then Utah, they're gonna come in strong. You know what I mean? So, you know, hey, Lori, how's it going?
Yeah, when it
You know,
when it
I
comes
I
to
think
those,
it's gonna be tough for him, and I just think that I if it's me, there's no way that I'm keeping Gundy around still. I don't know, but it's not me, but it's, you know, and they love him over there, but I don't get it, man.
yeah,
Mhm.
I don't know if Coach Prime is going to be the recruiter that we think he is until I think we're going to find out a lot this year and next year about what he's going to be in recruiting because I know last year he flipped Cormani, but let's be honest, Cormani had some issues, and if he wouldn't have
I wouldn't be
had,
surprised if he ends up out of there. Yeah, Cormani.
oh no, he's staying,
Is he?
but oh yeah, he's going to stay. But I mean, that's the thing. Like, if this kid fixed his grades, would he have ended up at Colorado? Would he ended up at Alabama or Florida State or Miami? So I'm curious to see like Jordan Seaton. I think is a big question mark. Like, can you make a big enough impression on Jordan Seaton this weekend to land him? Can you close the on King Joseph Edwards? I mean, King Joseph Edwards, everybody wants that kid. He's a top
Right, right.
300 kid in the country. And then, you know, you've got Draylon Miller coming on campus. So, like, they have an opportunity to make a statement. But when it comes to Coach Prime, I want to see exactly what he's able to do at one of these little schools. in recruiting, before I say, hey, yeah, he's going to run away with the conference, we know what Kyle Whittingham at Utah can do. Listen, we know Mike Gundy can at least develop these Oklahoma State kids because they do. They find diamonds in the rough and they develop them and they end up being great players. So I at least can think.
Except that they've gotten to where they don't do that as much anymore. That's the thing I'm at, is that he hates the NIL, he hates all of that. I mean, didn't you just hear about everything that went on in that meeting that they had with the boosters and the collectives and all that? And he was talking about not raising the money for the NIL and putting it more into facilities again. I mean, it apparently pissed everybody off there, and I think that's why they're looking at a succession plan coming up pretty soon there. And I think you kind of have to. And I mean, he even admitted whenever they went on that losing streak, and they told him, I think, you either get your butt back to work or you need to get out of here, because after the Iowa State loss, and then right before that losing to South Alabama big at home like that. So apparently, and I mean, now he admitted it's the first time in 7 years that he had been, hanging around the offices and practices and having anything to do with game planning and stuff like that. Obviously, they're on a 4-game winning streak because of it, but it just goes to show you how little he cares about all that stuff. And to me, I think that if I'm Oklahoma State, I definitely want to get one of these up and coming young guys, your guys like Jeff Traylor down at San Antonio. Obviously your guy down at Willie Fritz at Tulane. You've got the guy that's at Texas State. You've got, there's a lot of freaking really young, really good talent that you probably wouldn't have to pay what you pay Mike Gundy, and they'd still do better recruiting.
Could you get a Sean Lewis? Because I see
like
Chicken talking about how Prime might lose his OC. I haven't heard any news on this, so
he took his play calling. Pat Shermer's going to be doing the play calling this weekend, so I don't know what that's all about for sure, but that doesn't sound good.
Yeah, it doesn't sound good.
But I think Sean Lewis is definitely one of those guys that's up for a job, and just because even if they want to blame whatever they're trying to blame on him or whatever, I think that I don't think that necessarily that means that all of a sudden he's damaged goods because it didn't work out with Prime.
Oh, no. I mean? Sean Lewis is not getting fired. Like the offense is not the problem. It's when you look at the offense problems for Colorado, it's the offensive line, but they also didn't get a lot of good guys through the portal. I mean, and in the
class, out, right? It seems like at this point you're starting to see that may have been a little much, biting off a little much. Seems like maybe. Although that being said, they were 1-11 last year. They've won 4 games. They're probably winning 1 or 2 more.
Yeah. So they're at like a.
It's a 400% increase. So it's I don't necessarily call this a bad. I don't have this a bad
Here's how Colorado, and I explained this in a video earlier today. Colorado fans need to look at it this way, and we're getting off topic from Bedlam, but we'll get back to it, guys. Colorado fans need to look at it this way: you're 4-4. You still have a chance to get bowl eligible, because I think they do have a chance to beat Oregon State this week, and I think you still can beat Arizona before you head into just another tough stretch of games to end your season against Washington State and Utah. There's still a chance that you can end the season 6-6 in a bowl game. Sure. Not to mention, you've sold out all of your home games so far. Probably all your Colorado merch sales have skyrocketed.
It's been a complete success for him to be there. I don't care whoever wants to hate on him and do all that stuff. You can do all that you want. Look, you don't have to necessarily like everything that he does and says and all that other stuff. Hell, I don't. Nobody does. You know what I mean? There's certain things that it's a little cringeworthy, right? It is what it is. And to me, I think that if you win, he's already, like you said, 400% increase. They sold out season tickets. They freaking put 40,000 people in the spring game, and it was snowing out there, and sold tickets to it. You know what I mean? He's made well more than his contract already. So I don't even know what the deal is.
Colorado might have never gotten to the Big 12 without Coach Prime. Like, they might have been left for dead and dropped to a G5 school. That's how bad it was. Like,
it seems like they probably would have brought him back in just because of the fact that they used to be Big 12 members and Big 8 members going all the way back.
Because
of the Four Corner area too, I think.
Yeah, I mean, they could have took Oregon State and probably had a better team, but you get
But
Coach
for
Prime
now,
and he
well,
brings you revenue.
right this second, maybe, but their program hasn't been great, for a long time. I think Jonathan Smith is very good, but I think that it would have been, you know, it would have been some time. And in the end, maybe, maybe not. I don't know. You could be right. You could be right. They could have been like, screw y'all, y'all left. You're not coming back.
Well, and I think Coach Prime's gonna stay at Colorado for a while because I think it's gonna take the right job to get him out of there, and
I do
the
too.
only right job I see is Florida State. I know people have said Florida and Miami, maybe Florida,
I'm not.
maybe
I could
Florida.
see Miami possibly just because of his connections with some of those guys that he played with in the league. But in the end, and really, if Dabo's not going to hang around much longer, I could see Clemson. But
I don't think Clemson fits him very well, but
I
Florida
don't
State, man, that's
necessarily
the
either. But
job.
what I would tell you is that to be honest with you, I don't think that anybody does right now. And he's loyal to Rick George, who brought him on. He said before that he was excited about the fact, yeah, Florida State or Bama possibly. Look, to me, I feel like he and he's talked about before the fact that he was the third black hire for Georgia in Rick George, right? And that meant something to him. And so I think that, look, unless they have to get rid of him or something like that, but I honestly feel like they're doing fine. I think it's going to take time, just like it does for everybody else. And I think that it's already been a success there. So it's like, whatever you want. I mean, the haters are going to hate on him no matter what it is. It just doesn't matter. But in the end, he's, again, 400% improvement. He's already more than paid for his contract. And, things are definitely different around there. They're going to have to get better in the trenches without a doubt. But I think that you're going to see some I mean, everything that he's talked about with his recruiting has been pretty spot on so far. So I wouldn't be surprised to see some serious flips on, signing day of certain players and stuff like that. I mean, I think the ones he's in on, you never know.
Well, so I know for sure they
He's been
are
raiding Florida State.
well, so I know for sure that they've got a silent commit from a offensive lineman out of the transfer portal, not recruiting. So that
Okay.
one should be dropping here in the next couple weeks, and it's gonna be a big one. So
Right.
they're going to be getting wins there. I'm curious to see if they flip Charles Lester because committed to Florida State. Florida State got one of the best quarterbacks in the country. I mean, can they? I mean, if it happens to Florida State again, I
Well,
mean,
who's the kid that was supposed to go to OSU that has been looking? I was on with David Tuck's bus. I forget his name.
Kobe Black, because Kobe Black's brother plays for Oklahoma State and he's a cornerback.
Is it, okay, yeah, no, is it maybe? Yeah, maybe so. I forget. I forget his name. But anyway, he was going
He's
to go
going to
to
be in
Ohio
Norman next
State.
week. He'll be in
I thought
Norman.
he was going to Ohio State, but okay, yeah. Anyway, I think that. Well, I mean, Shador's coming back next year, but I think that they are definitely going to. Look, it's not hard for you if you're Deion Sanders. It's not hard for you to recruit these guys. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
not, whether it's through the portal or through high school stuff. And I think that right now he's looking at doing it a certain way and having X amount of players through the portal until you can, because I don't think it's completely sustainable to do it that way forever. But I think at the start, that's what it's for. Which is why it's crazy to me that Dabo won't use it at all. But
he's probably going to do what Venables and Todd Bates want to do this year with the defensive line, which is, hey, we're going to go in there and this is our criteria. You have to have this many years of eligibility, and this is what we're looking for in terms of culture and these things, right? I don't think Coach Prime is in a spot where he can be that selective, but I do think they're going to look at it this year and go, okay, no more, like, we don't want 1 year rentals. We want 2 to 3 year guys. Like, that's what we're looking for. And I think they're going to get a lot of that. So it'll be interesting to see what he's able to win. I do agree here with Jack Thrice. Coach Prime should win Coach of the Year with the way that he's coached so far. I mean, Venables could make an argument if he goes to the playoffs,
definitely.
but I would look at it and say Coach Prime. If they win 6 games and go to a bowl game, I don't think there's anybody that deserves
If
it more
they
than
hit to
him.
6 wins, I think he's definitely Coach of the Year.
Because and RJ Young brought this out, and I don't understand how this has ever happened. And I mean, not to get political about it, but there's never been a black head coach to win Coach of the Year.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either until RJ said it. And here's the thing: if that's the case, who would be better to win it? and make it the first one than Deion Sanders because
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that there's a lot of good coaches out there. You could give it to a lot of guys that, but I mean, to me, he's certainly in the running. If he gets to 5 and he was yes, they were the worst FCS team, FBS team even, and then to 5 wins and a good, yes. And that's the other thing is that the Pac-12 is freaking good. It's good. Even the bad teams are better than a lot of teams around the country. So as far as quarterback and everything else, I mean, look at how Washington State started off the season. They've beaten Oregon State and some they've been big. So I don't know, man. I think that I definitely wouldn't have a problem with him being coach of the year. I don't know how much it matters what you've done or whoever it is, but there's some guy. I mean, and Coach Venable's definitely being right on that list as well. For you to flip it from 6 and 7 after the crap sandwich that he got handed to him, yeah. I think he's right in there as well.
Well, to get back to what we were talking to originally, Oklahoma State doesn't want to continue the rivalry with Oklahoma. Somehow we ended up on Coach of the Year conversation and Deion Sanders, but that's what you love about it. So no, I'm disappointed that Oklahoma State doesn't want to continue this rivalry. I definitely think it'll be back at least by 2031 because I think 2030 is the last year where Oklahoma State has all their out-of-conference games scheduled. But I think it could end up here sooner, dependent on if Fox Sports and ESPN want it. I mean, what's $1 million to every single one of those media companies to say, all right, here's $1 million, buy that team out of that contract, put Oklahoma on that schedule. So we'll see if they comes back sooner. Oklahoma State, hey, you know what? They might really good.
The whole buying them out of the contract stuff like that wouldn't work out. I mean, look, think about the money that it makes every year. Now, the people that come back to Oklahoma just for that game, and because Oklahomans get spread out all over the country. And think about it, they come back just for that game. And like this year, I mean, tickets are so freaking crazy expensive because of it being the last one or whatever. But I mean, even most years, whenever it's you've got a decent matchup going, it's always going to be good.
I was never able to get tickets until I got season tickets. That's how expensive they were. And I think here's the other thing that a lot of people aren't thinking about. Yes, Venables and we'll talk. Well, we could just dive right into it. Sooners recruiting, right? Venables recruiting the state of Oklahoma is really important. Oklahoma State not playing this game is going to hurt them even worse because now you don't have an opportunity to convince kids, hey, come play for Oklahoma State because Oklahoma didn't recruit you and you have a chance to beat them every year. They don't have that opportunity to make that pitch anymore. So now you're either going to have Oklahoma just completely clean house, or you're going to start having kids maybe leave your state, which we've already seen Vandy and KU come into Oklahoma and kind of get really who they want. I mean, KU got David McComb, who's a 3-star quarterback and is going to continue rising, in my honest opinion. I think he'll be probably a top 300 player, but it's all said and done in the 2025 class. But he's going to Kansas. You got Vandy coming in and taking Caden Knighton, a 4-star running back. Oklahoma State, those would be perfect Oklahoma State players. But Oklahoma's not going to be there. They're not going to be able to use that pitch to say, hey, we're going to play Oklahoma every year. They didn't pick you up.
Exactly what I was saying. You're right. No, it looks, I'm telling you, this is why it's going to be very, very hard for them to get in-state talent that OU wants. That OU wants. It's just going to be so hard for them to do that. But I just think that in what James was saying in here, everyone forgets that it was Gundy and OSU who started playing cupcakes in the offseason. I didn't forget that. And look, here's the thing about Gundy. Aside from his record in Bedlam, okay, he's beaten 3 non-conference Power 5 teams with a winning record in his career. 3. And they were at 8. They were either 8-5, 7-6. 3 teams. Georgia, I think. Who was the other 2? There. Dang it. It's like Georgia and somebody. But anyway, I mean, they were all 8-5 and 7-6. And then against 10-win teams, he's 13-33 in his career. The dude is trash, man. He is mediocre, Mike, at always been mediocre, Mike. Man, come on. It's hilarious the way that they talk about the fact that he's won more games in the last 10 years than anybody but Oklahoma, but that's because the Big 12 has been not good ever since everybody started moving out of the Big 12. You had Oklahoma, and then it's Baylor was next in line, K-State kind of them. And then, because even look at Texas, they've been irrelevant, completely irrelevant during this whole time. So even during that time, and you get what? One freaking conference championship out of, this is your 19th season. You have one conference title and 3 wins against your rival. It's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
No, it is. Sorry, I am a little distracted because I just saw a picture of Oklahoma City's new court they're rolling out tonight against the Golden State Warriors for this in-season tournament, and it looks pretty cool. So, yeah, but no. So looking at the Oklahoma State-Oklahoma game tomorrow, Oklahoma's got a couple key players that might or might not play in this game. So Tawi Walker, it sounds like he's going to be out. Danny Stutzman, I think we all expect him to at least suit up and try to go out there and play. I'm not sure how effective he's going to be. So Kobe McKenzie and Kip Lewis, those have got to be some dudes that step up for you in a big way, which honestly, I don't think you have to step up in a huge way. All you got to do is just stop the run against Oklahoma State, because it sounds like Bowman's going to be fully healthy. Gentry Williams will be there. Peyton Bowen will be there at some level. So it seems like Oklahoma, like health-wise, will play one of their better games this season. I'm curious to see how the offensive line is going to shuffle and everything. So what are some of your thoughts in terms of the injuries and, who you want to see if somebody's out?
I guess, Chicken's just saying that Trace Ford saying Stutzman's going to be playing. I don't know how well he'll play if he's really still hurt. I'd be great if he wasn't. I mean, I haven't heard any of that stuff just yet, but here's the deal. I feel like I want to see, this is a good opportunity for you to see more out of Kip Lewis, to see more out of Kobe McKenzie, and Kip, I thought he did a good job whenever he got in there last week. I think a lot of folks have wanted to see more of him anyway. To me, I really want to see those guys kind of get their opportunity. But I think that the main part of this game is that, you got to stop the run. You need to make Alan Bowman beat you. You got to make Alan Bowman beat you. So, you need to and not miss so many tackles. That's my thing on it. And then offensively, I would say that I think you need to start off. I have a preview coming out here in just a bit, but I mean, one of my big things is that you obviously you're going to have to run the football well. But to do that, you need to start off, because they're going to dare you to throw it. Go throw the ball, hit them deep. I think if they get out in front of them early, I don't think it'll be much of a game. I think if you let them hang around for very long, it could be bad.
Yeah, so I talked about it in my early preview this week on Wednesday. Keys for Oklahoma. And I said, Oklahoma's got to go balls to the wall on the run game. Kind of like what they did at the end of the KU game. If you'd notice, they basically said, hey, Bean, you're going to throw the ball on us because we're going to stop the run game. And it worked. I mean, Bean, he was not completing his passes at a high percentage. Yeah. And so, if you have Gentry Williams in that game, probably looks a lot different towards the end. Bean probably doesn't complete a lot of those passes. So I think with Oklahoma State, you got to do the same thing.
Yeah, and I think, some of those guys that they've had in, I mean, I think that it gets to a point, and it's like we were talking about Pearson. I know we don't necessarily agree on that, but I felt like, look, some of these guys got to quit making stupid mistakes. There needs to be a lot more accountability on their part, and not going in and having dumb stuff like, man, the guy's sliding, the rule. Don't hit him. Don't touch him. It's simple. You know what I mean? And you're a 6-year guy. That's not a problem. And then Kenai Walker, I mean, he's had some issues with eye discipline on that, down on that last drive in there. And I agree with you. I think that if you have your guys in there, but I also feel like you want to start seeing some more of those younger guys in some of those situations, rather than just trying to go with the guy that you think has more experience. I'd rather see Makari Vickers and Josiah Wagner. You know what I mean? Than you know what I mean? I just think that they're the next coming of it. What are you hearing about Bowen though? Is he better? Is he feeling better this week? Are we going to see more of him?
Yeah, it sounds like we might see a little bit more of him. It sounds like he just kind of had a was it a foot injury or like something was just nagging him a little bit, and it sounded like Gentry,
Mhm.
and with it being cold weather, I think you expect like I mean
Happens a
my
lot.
joints hurt in the cold weather, and I've never had an injury like the significance that these players have. So I
Mhm.
would assume that they just pretty much sat him out probably last week for more precautionary things, make him a little bit more comfortable. They probably thought they could beat Kansas without those guys, and then you were to the point where, I mean, you can't put them in mid game like that because you didn't have them on the depth chart. So yeah, it sounds like Bowen will at least maybe give it a shot. Maybe you'll see him a little bit. But I mean, you should be able to win the game without Bowen. If you have Gentry Williams back, I think that was your piece that you were missing last week on the defense. I mean, obviously when Danny Stutzman went out, that was a problem.
Yeah, that hurt him. It definitely hurt him, and I think that even Kip isn't necessarily all the way there, but, like, without Danny on the field, it seems like Kanak is completely lost, you know? Um,
There's a chemistry between those two that I mean, it's
absolutely, and
clearly
I
visible.
just think that the good news about this team is like, if you were watching Oklahoma breakdown or anything like that, and they were talking about it, and I've seen it on the film myself too. They just, I mean, they're going to have some motion and some different stuff like that, but they're just really kind of playing in comparison to the way that they run the ball at UCF and certainly with at Kansas as well. That that they we're talking about two offensive guru type guys in Gus Malzahn and then Lance Leipold. And the way that they've kind of gotten it done the last 4 weeks at Oklahoma State is to be a little more basic and just get the ball in Ollie Gordon's hands. Which, by the way, it's not going to be the easiest thing in the world to stop him. I don't care who's on the field. The guy's a stud. There's a reason he already has 1,100 yards.
Yeah, chicken. And I think they're probably going to do that with a lot of guys. Danny Stutzman will be a game time. Gentry will probably be a
Mhm.
game time. We talk about it for more behind the scenes things that we are talking about, or that we're hearing. But when you look at it, the depth chart, you're going to see a lot of guys game time decision. But maybe the decision's already been made. This guy's going to play because they don't want to give Oklahoma State as much of an advantage as it is when you know that they're playing. So at least this way, you have to throw them off a little bit. No, if Danny Stutzman's not able to go, I do think you probably want to rotate Kip Lewis and Kobe McKenzie in there a little bit more, and you want to see
Yeah, yeah.
those two play with each other. Man, I feel like taking Kanak out though is a problem because Kanak is he or Kanik or
Well,
however you say it. I
what
think I
I
get it
was saying
wrong.
about him though is I think that this week it may not be as foreign to him. I don't think they're going to do so many things that it's going to keep him completely like confused all the time.
Well,
So
because here's
I
the
don't
thing.
think he's coming out of the game. I don't. They're going to play him still, and I think you need to do that. But at some point, think about it. Even last year with Danny, is he made a lot of tackles, but he made a lot of stupid mistakes too, and a lot of times it cost him. And there's times that I think that if it seems to you like Kip gets it or Kobe gets it, then you need to do that. You know what I mean? And so, look, uh, I I love Jaron Connect. I love the guy. I think he's a stud. You know what I mean? I think you got to find a place for him. But I also think that he gets in over his head and it freaks him out a little bit. And so it gets kind of paralysis by analysis too, that he gets a little in his own head, and that's normal. That's normal for kids. You know what I mean? I get it.
Yeah,
But
I think for me, it's Kanak is so damn talented and freaky that like
no,
you
no
can,
doubt.
yeah, like
In a lot of ways, man. He's like Jacoby Johnson, the guys like that. But
so I think though the thing is if you're not going to see as much shifting as you did in the Kansas State game because the Kansas
right,
State offense they like to shift a
correct.
lot. You're not going to
Oh
see
yeah.
that. So I don't think there's
A
going to
lot
be
of
as
eye
much
candy, a lot of
opportunity
weird
for
stuff. Yeah.
Kanak to get confused. I think there's just going to be this thing where you pretty much have this understanding. Hey, listen, we want you to rush every single time, but we're
Right.
going to give you a couple different ways to disguise it so that maybe it throws them off a little bit that you're going to do something different. But on the whole, we want you rushing the quarterback. We want you going towards that backfield. You're one of our best options to stop Ollie Gordon if he's able to get past that defensive line. So,
Yeah.
and then of course with Kobe McKenzie and Kip Lewis, there's just been so much hype there with Kobe McKenzie. I mean, you've seen him when he was on his visit and K9 was there. I mean, the dude was a monster. But
He's a
uh,
stud, man.
I see what Chicken's saying here about the balanced offense for Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State, they're doing about
Yeah, oh,
244 passing
yeah.
yards a game, and they're doing 184 rushing yards a game. Listen, I don't think it's going to be as balanced as you
The
think it's going
balance
to be.
Yeah, I don't either, because that balance is because early in the year, that wasn't going on. They weren't even getting Ollie the ball until he got back. So there's not a huge amount of balance there.
Yeah, there's not a huge lot of balance there. And if you go balls to the wall and you make Alan Bowman pass on you and you say, listen, we want you to try to beat Gentry Williams or Billy Bowman
Mhm.
or Peyton Bowen or somebody like that, it's going to be
Right.
hard to do in one-on-one coverage. So, yeah. Lori has a question here. Will Farouk play? So I know I told you about this before while we were in the green room, and um it's just a funny it's not a funny situation, but it's funny at the same time because I knew this was
Yeah.
coming and I almost didn't want to talk about it, but I
Everybody's
think
gonna
Farouk
know. You
will
might as well
play.
just spill it. Spill it.
Farouk Farouk will probably play. Now I don't know if it's kind of like a Baker Mayfield situation where, hey, he's going to sit out for a series or he's going to sit out for a quarter or whatever that's going to look like. I do not think they keep him out the entire game. That would be stupid on this staff because Farouk's mistake was a self-inflicted mistake, and he didn't do anything that like yes, he broke the law, but it's not like he broke
Yeah,
the
it
law.
wasn't
Like,
bad.
I don't know how to put that
Yeah,
without like, he broke
nothing
the law,
major.
but he didn't really break, like, he didn't do anything bad. He just
Didn't hurt anybody. He didn't,
no,
get drunk driving, do anything stupid like that.
no,
Yeah,
he
I
did
get
not do what the Georgia
Now it's
players did. He
kinda
got pulled
stupid.
over for a paper tag violation, which I was telling Jason, I said, "How the hell he
Come on,
got pulled
bro.
over for a paper tag?" When I see people on the streets driving around with a paper tag that's a year expired,
Yeah,
beats me. But I think this was more so of they wanted him to pay his tickets because he probably sounded like he had a lot of them that were outstanding, and so this was
oh,
more so,
yeah,
hey
that's
man,
crazy to me.
it's like it's more. This is probably more so of a hey man, listen, we need you to pay your ticket. So I'm
Handle it.
pretty sure this was just a standard thing. Bring him in, get him paid
Mhm.
stuff. So yeah, that's all it is. I'm sure that the staff is just going to make him run a lot of stairs. He's probably gonna have to hit the weight room a little bit harder. So I'm sure
Mhm.
Smitty will have a field day with him over the next week. So, but I don't think they're going to penalize the entire team. And I think that's what taking Farouk out of the game for a long period of time would do. It's penalizing the whole team for a really small, really, really small mistake. I mean, this is
Sure,
not something you freak out about.
sure.
So
No,
yes,
I'm with you. I'm
if
there with
Farouk
you.
doesn't play, yeah, we're all gonna have words for Jeff Levy and Venables because I
I
don't
mean, yeah,
agree.
this is such a nothing burger type of deal. Now he needs to have some discipline himself and go handle stuff like that. You know what I mean?
And
I
it's
would
probably a
hope
good
that
teaching moment. It's probably a good
grow
teaching
up
moment.
grow up a little bit, go pay your freaking fines. You got NIL money, go do it, you
Yeah,
know?
it's accountability, and this might be the
Yeah,
thing. Like, it's no different than your kid doing something wrong. You're having to
sure,
punish them, and
sure,
it's a teaching mistake. That's really what this is. It's a
absolutely.
hey, you did something wrong. Here's your punishment, and
Mhm,
here's how we're going to get better from this. I think that's all this is. I don't think this is a character problem or anything like that. This is just a dumb.
mhm,
He probably thought, "Hey, I don't need to pay these tickets," and well, that kind of caught up with him because eventually you do have to pay those tickets. So, I think one
yeah.
quarter or drive, probably like what we saw similar with Baker Mayfield, because Baker Mayfield did some stupid stuff and got arrested for getting in public intoxication.
No doubt. No,
Now, that was during the Riley era, and we all know Riley is very relaxed on.
he didn't care.
Yeah, he just did it so the
I
NCAA didn't
mean,
come
that
knocking.
wasn't the biggest deal either. You know what I mean? It wasn't the best look, but it wasn't the biggest problem either.
Now, did he have to sit out a quarter for the
I
crotch
think he
grab,
set up
or
the
was it
first
sitting
half
out a quarter
maybe, or
for getting
yeah,
arrested?
I think it was the quarter for the crotch grab and, maybe a half for the drunken public deal,
Okay.
something
I
like that.
couldn't
Is
remember
that
what it
right?
was for the drunken public, so
It seemed like it was something like that.
yeah.
I'm sure somebody in there knows.
Greatest Baker Mayfield meme of all time, the crotch grab or the plant the flag?
Yeah, yeah, probably the flag plant, I'm not, the crotch thing is a little cringy. But I understood why he did it. I mean, and this is why you loved Baker. He had a chip on his shoulder anyway, and then you added to it, so he just went out and smoked you. So the flag plant though was, yeah.
I love this one. If he
Yeah,
has
I mean,
ran,
I guess it was bigger because he ran from the cost, but that was kind of funny part, right? Wasn't it, James? I mean, I thought it was funny. Yeah, after the course. Yeah, right.
yeah, he wasn't no running back. I don't know what he thought about running from the cops. So,
Yeah, he was drunk.
yeah,
He's drunk, dude. It's nobody makes good decisions then.
no. So,
Oh
so
man.
keys for Oklahoma here.
Mhm.
I think we talked about it, but hey, front seven, they got to play their best game against Ollie Gordon. Ollie Gordon's potentially working his way into Heisman contention if he continues to run for 150 plus yards every single game. He's going to get in that conversation.
Right.
Offense and the running back position for Oklahoma, you got to be more consistent. So, what I said here earlier in the week, Caden Green needs to play more. He's one of your best, and then you really need to figure out whether Rouse or Sexton needs to play in this game and just stick with it, right? If your identity is you want to run the ball this game, you play Sexton. But the smart move would be to pass the ball against this Oklahoma State defense. So you'd probably want to play Rouse at that point. So
I think you have to. They're going to dare you to anyway, right? I mean, you seem to, from what I'm looking at, you're seeing that both of those guys are, especially when they go to a 3 high look. You're having that middle guy is almost 5-6 yards off of the line at most. They're selling out on stopping the run in between the tackles. Unfortunately, I think we may end up seeing some jet sweep stuff here.
don't say that because that was my
I'm
third
telling
point.
you, I think
No
it's going to happen.
sweeps.
They don't give up runs between the tackles. Yeah.
Oh.
Honestly, it's just, here's the thing. All I'm going to say is that you're going to have to run, but I think that you have to set up the running game by going deep. And I think by doing that, you can also get ahead in this game and kind of put it away early, because this is not a game you want to mess around with being in Stillwater. You need to go out there, handle your business quick. They should not be able to stay on the field with Oklahoma. I know they've played well the last few weeks. Let's not forget the Big 12 isn't great, right? And I think you probably do hold Gordon under 150. He's only been over 200, I think, once. And he's been very good though. He's been very good. But look, I think that the main thing you need to do is get out there and establish your run game by throwing the freaking ball. It's not hard. It's you either got to do it one way or the other, but you can start with throwing the ball a little bit. And I think early on in that the deep game, they're gonna, if you show run, they're gonna be there. Yeah, I think you're right, chicken. Over 2 the last 2 games. But again, I think the main thing that you got to do though is make sure that I think you need to let Dylan run the football too. I think that, hey, we're at the point now that you're trying to go get a conference championship. You need to go let him go win the thing. Don't handcuff him. Don't make him not do anything. Go let him go.
And I thought that's what we would do all season because we have Jackson Arnold. And
right, yeah.
I mean, Jackson Arnold's looked good when he's been in there. Now I get it. If he has to start a whole game or play half a game, it might be a different story. But I thought we felt more confident, right, in letting Dylan Gabriel just be Dylan Gabriel.
I don't think it's ideal for Jackson to come in as a freshman, right? But I do think that if you're playing like scared like that, then you're not going to win anything anyways. And I do hate the jet sweep too.
Well, yeah, let's be honest. This is going to be the week where they run the jet sweep 5 times, and 5 times you get 25 plus yard gains out of it.
Teddy said it perfect, and I've been complaining about it. If you guys have been watching my show at all, I've been cussing it. I hate it. But Teddy said it perfect on their show the other day that he was talking. What did he say? He said, it's fine if you do it. And I'm not a big fan of it if you're doing it at the, in moderation or whatever. But if you're doing it without adding in the vertical part of it, then it's trash. It's stupid. If you don't have a vertical threat to go with it, then you're not helping yourself out at all. And, that's the thing.
You want to know what doesn't make sense to me about
Let
the jet
DG
sweep?
cook. You're right, Bishop Frank. Let him cook.
I think the jet sweep would work a lot better and I know this sounds crazy, but I don't think they'd be expecting it if you put Gavin Sawchuk out there to run the jet sweep, because he is insanely fast, and he's a guy where, listen, he's going to get to the outside, and that might be the thing that
Brennan Thompson.
Yeah, Brennan Thompson. That's another one. Like,
I think that's what I loved that whenever we talked about that. Me and K Chris, we were talking about that. If you're not putting him out, I don't care if he actually catches a football or not. Run that dude down the field so that they have to guard him.
He is what?
Run him down the freaking field.
He is just a poor version, and this is only because I don't think he's got a chance to play a whole lot, but he's just a poor version of Andrel Anthony. That's all he is, because he can get down there and create space.
He's faster than
do it numerous times.
He's faster, and he's healthy, and whether or not he catches the football or not, it doesn't even matter. But if you don't try to take the top off with him and make those safeties stop creeping down closer to the, you're never going to get your run game going. It's not going to happen. So if Teddy was talking about that. He said that he would send him 10, 12, 15 times anyway. Me and K Chris were talking about that last Saturday. I've heard Ty talking about it Monday when we were on with him. You know, I think that Brennan Thompson ought to be getting snaps, period. Now, I definitely want to see Nick Anderson get it, but that's the other thing. You get a guy like Brennan running down the field, they're going to have to go with him.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, you've seen it, though. It's hard for anybody to guard him because he can stop on a dime and he creates that distance, and he'll come right back to the ball. And you know what? He doesn't have to catch the ball and run it for me. If he can just catch it every time like that and get a consistent 30 yards like what he's been doing, I'm fine with that. But that's the thing. And I think at this point, last week was so bad, you almost feel like Jeff Lebby and Brent Venables have had a conversation together to say, because even when your quarterback comes out and says, I don't really have the option of whether or not I throw it to Nick Anderson, like, that's pretty bad. And so I feel like there's going to be a change. And this is going to be the game where if this might be one of Jeff Lebby's better games because they know what Bedlam means to the fan base. I feel like this is the perfect storm. And honestly, Oklahoma might jump out early by 2 touchdowns or 3 touchdowns and put Oklahoma State away in the first.
They did it last year, and that's the thing. I mean, if you go out there and you use that same type of look, I think that if they're not scripting deep balls, at least for that first 15 plays of the script, if you don't have the deep ball as a third of those, you're crazy. Period. And I'm not saying not to run the ball. I think you can hit the edges. I'd like to see just some zone read stuff on the outside a little bit rather than just the jet sweep. And if you're going to run the jet sweep, make sure you have a vertical part to it as well. That's the main thing that I want to see in the game. Yeah, Gibson, Thompson, Stoops, and of course Mr. Anderson. Yeah, hey, that's the other thing I want to look. The last 2 weeks, they've targeted Nick 3 times total. The last 2 weeks, 3 total targets. That's insanity. The dude needs to catch footballs, bro. Catch footballs.
Because he's one of your best players.
Unbelievably good. And look, I like getting Farouk involved too. I want him catching footballs. I do. But I got to tell you, make sure that you're doing that. But you need to make sure that you get Anderson the football, man. Throw him the ball. Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, anyway. Well, let's shift into some recruiting because I told you I wanted to talk about this because Ty over at Around the Table Sports had a great take on it today. Mm-hmm. And one of the takes that he had was talking about how Venables has recruited a complete class, and that's not something we've seen Riley do. And I made a couple videos. I had one with Marcus James, which, let's be honest, the Trinae Washington commitment that was completely out of nowhere. It was out of left field, not something we expected. So I made a second video. Both videos got comments similar to this. Why are we excited for a 3-star? Why are we excited for this guy? And it might not be because, and my deal is you're excited because you are recruiting the state of Oklahoma at a level that you haven't recruited the state of Oklahoma in a long time. Out of the top 10 players in the state of Oklahoma, Oklahoma right now has not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 of them. Now, you can make an argument for Kevin Sperry.
That's the 25 year?
That's for 2025. That's what we're talking about.
Okay.
you can make an argument for Kevin Sperry because he's not from here. But
Right.
even if you take him out, Oklahoma could still end up with 8 out of the top 10 2025 targets. If you keep him in there, 9 out of the top 10 targets. With Lincoln Riley, almost all of these guys would have not been in this class.
That's why Oklahoma State got good, right? Because Lincoln
Well,
wasn't paying attention to him.
look at Bama. Bama got, I mean, one of the better running backs we've seen over the past 10 years from Tulsa.
Yeah.
We had that 5-star safety go to Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at the recruiting scene and you look at these 3- and 4-star guys out of the state of Oklahoma, one, they still have a whole nother year to continue the rise to the rankings. And now that they're all playing together, they're only going to look better. Now, there is a ceiling for everybody in Oklahoma outside of Kevin Sperry, just because Kevin Sperry, he goes to camps, things like that. The other guys, they don't really. But and they all play at Carl Albert, right? So they're not playing 6A football. But at the end of the day,
it doesn't matter, man.
Oklahoma's getting dogs. They're all like every single one of these guys. They're going to be hungry. They're excited to play for this team. And these are the guys that are going to drive the out-of-state guys, the 5-stars, to be better.
Absolutely. And PG, the lifeblood of any program is 3-star athletes, period. It's the bulk of these guys are 3-stars. And look, some of the guys that, I mean, they had at Clemson, he had to go out and get 3-stars and turn them into 4- and 5-star guys, and he did that. So if Venables and these guys are out there recruiting these dudes, it's because they see something in them. Okay, I'm not questioning their recruiting anymore. I'm done with that. Done with it. They know what they're doing, and I don't think that you ever probably should have been, but I know a lot of people have. In the end, I'm telling you that if they like him, then I like them. That's it. Because not all these guys, none of these guys know everything, you know. And so it's just like you said, if they don't go to camps, they could be completely underrated. Look at what's the big kid that plays at Carl Albert now, the running back that we got, and he's a
Xavier Robinson.
And they're talking about him like Adrian Peterson.
Oh, if he would have went to camps, he'd be probably a top 150 player in the country.
Mm-hmm.
But I want you to look at this list right here. Obviously, you can see 8. If we scroll down, you can see 10 guys. Kevin Sperry, number 9. David McComb, number 10, going to Kansas. I don't think Oklahoma is going to take David McComb at this point just because you got Kevin Sperry. But you look at these guys, top 8 right here. CJ Nixon, I think this one comes down to whether he wants to play basketball or he gets a Bama offer. Nate Roberts, I think we can pretty much say that one's going to be an Oklahoma win at this point. Tristan Haynes, you guys have heard me say it multiple times. I think he ends up in this class by the end of November. And then not to mention Caden Knighton. While he's committed to Vanderbilt now, you're telling me that if DeMarco Murray doesn't come knocking on his door and push, that he can't flip that kid?
From Vandy?
Yeah, from Vandy.
It could be about more than football, though, if he's going to Vandy.
It's not. I've talked to Caden.
Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah, you would know.
So that's what I'm saying. Like the state of Oklahoma in 2025, it's rich in talent. Now, obviously, you can't take everybody, right? That's why I look at David McComb down here and I say, you know what? As great of a quarterback as he's probably going to be, I think I think he could be a top 300 player, 4-star quarterback. I don't think he's going to fit Oklahoma just because you got Kevin Sperry, you're going to have Jackson Arnold, you have Michael Hawkins. Doesn't make sense. Right.
Dude, and Michael Hawkins is killing it this year. Have you seen this guy? Holy crap.
And again, a guy that maybe if he camps a little bit more, maybe he's got a better rating than what he's got. You know, so rating stars don't always tell the whole story.
12 years. He's a stud.
Yeah. Like David Stone is a 5-star because he camped. He went to IMG Academy, right? He had the connections. But I guarantee you, he's here in Oklahoma. He's probably he's top 100 player, 4-star, but they probably don't have him ranked as a 5-star.
Yeah, he would have never hit 5. And that's the same reason that Nigel Smith isn't a 5.
Yep. Nigel Smith just gives you tape in season, does really well. Nigel Smith would be a 5-star if he went to...
His measurables are freaking everything that everybody else's are, and he's ranked out of the top 100 even. You know what I mean? He's closer to the top 100, I think, than he was a few months ago. But the guy is, I mean, you know, I'm not saying he's David Stone. I'm saying he might be. You know what I mean? He's Nigel's a bad dude. He's a
Yeah.
bad dude.
He
And
is.
just like Danny Okoye. I mean, look, anybody that's got Nick Saban frothing at the mouth over you and seeing you one freaking time, you know that he's a stud. You know, and he'll never hit 5-star just because he never went to camps. I mean,
Well, and he's done it. Well, I think he could be a top 100 player if he played at 6A football in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Like if he played at one of those Tulsa schools.
Yeah, because he's playing in the homeschool league or whatever.
Yeah, but he travels into different places, so it's a little bit different. But like, let's say honestly, if Danny Okoye plays at Union or Jenks or Bixby, he plays really well against that kind of talent, he might actually be a 5-star, because we all know if you go to Tulsa and you really, really show out at those Tulsa schools,
oh, no doubt.
Yeah, that gets you enough attention. Now, sometimes these Oklahoma City and Edmond schools, I just don't think they get enough attention. That's why I think David Stone would have to go to a Tulsa school to be able to be a 5-star in the state of Oklahoma.
Yeah, no doubt. Jimmy asked a good question. Are they going to get a running back out of the portal?
I think it depends on if you have anybody hit the portal. Because you're so deep at running back. I mean, Javonte Barnes, Gavin Sawchuk, and guys, I know people are not impressed with either of them this year, but I want you to think about it this way. We were so excited about those two running backs coming into this year. They both had injuries, pretty significant injuries. Javonte Barnes had a foot injury. Sawchuk has had a hammy injury.
Javonte's still hurt.
Yeah, I think with Sawchuk, you're starting to see him get over that like mental block with the hammy a little bit, because you're starting to see it a little bit. So I think as you play him more, it is that confidence continues to build. Javonte Barnes, I don't expect to see him back to 2022 Javonte Barnes until next year. So I don't think you pick anybody up in the portal unless somebody hits the portal.
You've got some studs coming in.
Taylor Tatum, and then you've got Caleb Hicks, you have Dalen Smothers, and then you still have Emeka Megwa or whatever.
Yeah. Look, I want to see these guys get after it now. I don't know why you hadn't seen Hicks already, it seems like, because he looks the part.
Yeah, I have called about that. I'm like, why are we not playing these younger guys? Like, it would make sense you'd give Dalen Smothers or Caleb Hicks a chance. So, man, I don't know what it is. Maybe they're just not. Maybe they're not showing enough in practice with seeing holes.
Yeah, Gerald McCoy is been ranked the #1 recruit ever out of the state of Oklahoma. Urban.
Yes. So Topher asks, EPL and Brick's going to be Sooners. So I'll say this. So I was tipped off on Saturday about EPL not being at the UCF game while that game was going on.
Yeah.
And at this point, here's where I'm at with Eddie Pierre-Louis. He hasn't shown up to Oklahoma during his visit he's supposed to, and he hasn't showed up to UCF. He will commit to whatever school he shows up to a visit for, because he's going to show up to a visit to one of those two schools. With Oklahoma, you've got West Virginia and TCU. He's likely not coming to that TCU game because it's the day after Thanksgiving and it's an 11 a.m. game. So West Virginia is the one you circled. If he doesn't show up to West Virginia, he's probably going to UCF. With Grant Bricks, I think it's a little bit of a different story, because he's going to be going to Oklahoma and Kansas State still, because he already took his visit to Nebraska, and then he'll be making a decision. With Grant Bricks, you've heard the story. You know what this recruitment is about. He knows Oklahoma is the best spot for him in terms of development, but he's kind of a homebody, right? He wants to stay home. So the question is, can Grant Bricks get over the mental part?
For OU, right? Aren't they? Aren't most of the crystal balls to OU?
Most of the crystal balls are OU, and that was because there was a lot of belief going into that week that all those crystal balls got submitted, that Grant Bricks had finalized his decision and was ready to make it. We know Grant Bricks has been really flaky. He decided that he wanted to take those game day visits to see what those atmospheres were like. I think Grant Bricks ends up being a Sooner. With EPL, I think he's got some roadblocks, and I think the biggest one is mom, right? Mom wants him to stay closer. So it's kind of one of those things of, do you want to let your mom down, tell her no, or do you want to put your big boy pants on and finally decide to make a decision? And this, I'm not saying this in the wrong way, but make a decision for yourself, right? And do what you think is best for you. And that's hard. And I know this, it's hard to tell your parent, no, this is what I'm going to do, because I think this is what's best for me. But
even Stoney had to talk his mom into not
And he
going to
still almost
Miami.
didn't do it. He still almost didn't
I
pick
know.
Oklahoma.
I know.
It's hard. It's hard.
And he's wanted to be a Sooner for his whole life. But he was gonna do whatever she said.
Yeah.
Hey, look, man. Hey, you gotta listen to what your mom says sometimes. You gotta just let it go. Same with Williams-Nwaneri, and I don't think that Williams-Nwaneri ends up at OU, but I mean, you could. But
I think the chances
his
are better now
his
than where I
mama
thought they
put
were
her
3
foot
weeks
down
ago.
and said, "Nah."
Yeah, I
Do
think the
what?
chances of Nwaneri being at Oklahoma now are better than they were 3 weeks ago.
you?
Now, again, he still has to get over dad wanting him at Georgia, mom wanting him at Mizzou, right? That's the tear that he's in between right now. I'm going to be
Mhm.
honest. I've been told Williams-Nwaneri wants to be a Sooner. That was going to be his pick. Dad wants him at
He's wearing
Georgia.
the gloves and shoes and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been in
He wants
Missouri
to be here
for
with his
like months
teammates.
now.
He wants to be here with his teammates, the guys he's grown up with, right?
Yeah.
Caden Green, Kamori Moore. We all expect Mosey to be in this class, right? This is where he wants to be. And I
They're
think
trying to get in there too, right? I mean, they want him there too. So yeah, I get it.
well, and I think there is this part of, I think he kind of bought into the Mizzou hype because, okay, well, mom wanted me there.
Yeah.
I've got 2 local guys and Wingo and McCullen and maybe even Jay Sean Ross, who, if we all end up at Mizzou, yeah, we could change things, right? Maybe I could change the home state team, right? And then all of that has fell through. So maybe that plays a bigger factor. And that's where I think Oklahoma
They've
has a
gotten
better
away
chance.
with it so far. They haven't played anybody but LSU yet. That's why. And that, I mean,
I will say this. I think this is the deciding factor. If Mizzou goes out there this week, and there's two ways Mizzou keeps winning. If they go out there and they beat Georgia, they ain't losing in. If they go out there,
Georgia, bro,
hold on. And if they go out there and they play the way they did last year, where they can hang in there with Georgia, they got Georgia on the ropes, maybe that's enough. But if they go out there and get completely blown out,
they're not. They're going to
if
get
they go
blown.
out there and get blown out, I think the Winery sweepstakes are over.
They're going to get blown out. So if that's the case, maybe he is coming to Oklahoma. There you go.
Listen,
he's going to get blown. They're going to get blown out, dude.
I think Georgia.
They're not sneaking up on Georgia this year. They got 1 loss. That's it.
They're not,
and
but I really hope Georgia don't dare Mizzou to be throwing the ball around.
Yeah, Georgia's liable to win by freaking, they're liable to beat them by 50. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't think they're that good, man. I think that their receivers are absolutely great, but you're not going to be able to. That quarterback is going to be running for his life.
Yeah.
Period. Yeah, they're in deep shit.
Liam Evans, your kicker out of, I believe he goes Norman North, and then they're going to take one out of the portal. So that's going to be exciting there. And then Topher has a question. Do transfer portal questions count? 100%. And I'll give you an interesting transfer portal tidbit. A&M is going to have transfer portal exits. And I've already heard of one specific defensive lineman. That's all I'll give you. That it's all but pretty much done at this point that he's going to hit the portal at the end of the season.
Who?
We can talk about that off air. I don't want to give people too much hope here. I don't want people to get too much hope. But
then they'll be pissed off at you if it don't go.
Yeah, they'll be pissed off at me if it doesn't happen. Because I mean, the thing is, I'm hearing this just from back channels, just like everybody else is, right? But when it comes to the transfer portal, I think we all expect Texas A&M is going to have exits, not only on the offensive side of the ball, but on that defensive line. I mean, although their defense has played good and their defensive line is playing like one of the better defensive lines in the country, I don't think Texas A&M at this point, with the way that their record is panning out, is going to be able to secure these guys for much longer. I think you see Walter Nolan hit the portal. I think you see Gabriel Brownlow-Dindy hit the portal because last year he was not happy. There were a lot of rumors that he was going to hit.
Been pissed off all year too because he wasn't even in the top 3 of the depth chart, right?
Yeah, I think you see David Hicks hit the portal. Shamar Stewart's one that I'm watching because it seems like he's having a good season out at A&M. And so I'm curious to see if Shamar Stewart hits the portal. If he does, I think LSU goes in there and takes Shamar Stewart back. Or no, Shamar Stewart was part of Miami. He was part of Miami or LSU, one of those two. One of those two will pick him back up. So it's going to be interesting to see everybody that hits the portal for the University of or for Texas A&M and who Oklahoma wants to go after, because Oklahoma is going to want to go after guys that have probably 2 to 3 years of eligibility left. And A&M's got a lot of them.
Lori,
So
Lori, what the hell? You've been one of those ones that talks about David Hicks nonstop for a year, and now you're saying we don't need him? They would take him in a heartbeat, and you know that. What are you talking about? What do you mean they
so
need him? They need him.
to answer Chicken's question
He's
here,
a year ahead. He's a year ahead of these kids coming in.
oh, David Hicks was a monster. Like, he was one of the best defensive linemen in
He's
that
number
class
one
last
in the
year.
country.
Yeah. Now, to answer Chicken's question, so the NIL actually at A&M is falling apart. Like, they were under investigation, and I don't know if the investigation is still
they've
going
been
on.
doing all kinds of shit.
Yeah. Like, trust me, the NIL situation at A&M is not what everybody thinks it is
And
anymore. That's why
neither is the Jimbo situation going very well at A&M either. They keep losing games that they shouldn't lose.
yeah, and Lori, I want to chime in on this too. If Oklahoma has a chance to take David Hicks in the portal and pair him up with
it's a
David Stone,
no-brainer.
mind you, David Stone was recruiting David Hicks to Oklahoma last year. And it wasn't hidden. Like, he was straight up recruiting him on Twitter.
Yeah, come on. Let's be real about this.
So, yeah, if they get a chance to take
They
David
didn't
Hicks,
run out of money, James. You're right about that. But I would say, I mean, how much? And they didn't run out of money. People that are acting like they cannot pay Jimbo's buyout are crazy. They can.
I think there's just a lot going on out there right now that they're trying to figure out, especially with this investigation into their NIL program. But
I think from what James is talking about, and I've heard some of that too. I think it's pretty much over with. I think they're fine.
Yeah. Now, Chicken, winning is a priority for some of these guys. Like Walter Nolan at this point, listen, he's got his payday, and this dude wants to win. Like, he wants to solidify himself.
Going to win in the SEC. They were going to do it before Texas and Oklahoma got there. They're not now. They're in trouble.
So that's the thing. Like, I think Walter Nolan, I think he's going to hit the portal. I think he's going to go to a place like Alabama or a place like that, a place or Georgia, a place that he had in his top 3, and he's going to say, I'm going to go here. I want to win football games. I want to solidify myself as a top 5 pick. That's what Walter Nolan's going to want to do. And I think you're going to see a lot of the other guys do the same thing, right? That have been there. Now, I'm going to say this. If the defensive line falls apart and you start to see transfer portal guys hit the portal, I think maybe you could see Dominic McKinley decommit. And Oklahoma is going to get right back in that race. Which, I mean, I say get back in it. They haven't left it. But Oklahoma would definitely have a really good shot at that point. So, all right. Lori had a question earlier, and I've been ignoring it because we've been talking about OU. We've been talking about recruiting. But she wants to talk about Harbaugh. Why would Michigan keep Harbaugh? And here's the reason why. Nothing's going to happen to Michigan. Nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to happen. They're still going to get
that's the case.
They're going to get slapped around on the wrist. Maybe they get a couple scholarships taken away from them. So, you know what? Michigan, they're giving Harbaugh the extension. He's been their best coach. And here's the deal. Even with the cheating going on, I mean, look at what happened at the Ohio State game. Ohio State still was able to complete plays that apparently Michigan knew, right? So, I mean, it's not either if they were cheating, they weren't doing it very well. But Michigan, I think when you look, here's the deal. If Michigan goes out this week and next week and makes an absolute damn statement, they go out there and they beat Ohio State again, they stay undefeated, win the Big Ten championship, all of this is going to blow over. And Aiden Hutchinson said it perfect. You go out there and you win a national championship, everybody's going to forget about this. And I think that's what Michigan's kind of banking on. They're banking on everybody that they're going to do big things. And
I don't know from what you're hearing, and I don't think that anything's going to happen with the NCAA because I don't think the NCAA has any teeth. It'll take them 2 years to worry about it after this season's over.
It'll be the Big Ten that does something.
The concern is that where you're at right now is the Big Ten is they are, even most of these coaches are pushing for the Big Ten to do something about it. Are they going to? No. It would screw them in TV money. And Tony Petitti is a TV guy. So, yeah, they're not going to do that this year. They're going to let this slide. The extension part, who's to say how that's written? You know what I mean? We don't know. In the end, I would tell you that I think that it's a fluid situation. We'll see kind of what happens. And I would not be that surprised if Harbaugh ends up leaving, right? I just wouldn't be it wouldn't be that surprising, even if he's getting an extension, which is kind of surprising. But every day you hear weirder stuff. You hear weirder stuff going on over there. They obviously fired this guy, but they had a guy that was trying to pick up a 13-year-old, one of the coaches on the staff. This guy, for being a Marine, what a moron. What was he doing to run this? I mean, you're not even like trying to not get caught. And I mean, as being a former military guy, you ought to be a little brighter than that when it comes to like spy stuff or whatever. It's crazy. Everybody's stealing signs. That's not the big factor. No. Yeah. Look, and I think the biggest factor of it is the fact that, the reason they're pissed about it is because they even had this guy on the freaking sidelines of like Central Michigan games and stuff the last few years.
Now, my question is, though, would this investigation for Michigan be as blown up as it is if Michigan is the third or fourth best team in the Big Ten? And
no, they're winning the shit.
That's what I'm saying. Like the fact that they're in Big Ten title contention, talking about national championship contention, that's why people are talking about this so heavily. But here's the thing. Michigan has an opportunity for the rest of their schedule to go out there and tell everybody, it doesn't matter if we know your signs or not. We are more talented than you. We are more physical than you. And we're going to go out here and win our games. That's what I'm saying. If they go out there and win national championship, I think all of this goes away. Everybody forgets, because now we're talking about Michigan being back on top of college football. And we're talking about, I mean, can you imagine the recruiting scene at Michigan?
They're going to have to win one first, though. And they hadn't really played well in the playoff yet. But if they go back, and we'll see, they could also be 3 times in, no win in the first round. I don't know how good they are. Neither do you. They haven't played anybody yet.
Yeah, I mean, we say that every year. In the past 2 years, they beat Ohio State. So, but
now, I mean, I definitely think that they should have the upper hand on Ohio State, except that Ohio State has a defense this year.
Ohio State does have a defense. However, I think Michigan's defense is pretty good too, and I think Michigan is more physical than Ohio. I have not seen anything from Ohio State that tells me, hey, they've done what they needed to go out there and beat Michigan this year. And I'm under the impression, I was talking to Jay about this not too long ago, but I'm like, if Ryan Day loses to Michigan again this year, like, is he still the head coach next year? Because that's 3 straight losses to Michigan. And Ohio State fans and that alumni are not.
They were trying to fire him last year, man. They were wanting him gone last year. I don't know that Ohio State fires him. The dude's I don't even think he's lost 10 games in his career yet. And I'm not a big Ryan Day fan, but I'll tell you that I think it'd be crazy, particularly when they're getting the talent in there. And I think that I don't know that they lose the game, though. And I think that all this stuff hanging over Michigan's head, it can't be helpful.
It can't, but I mean, we're going to find out. I mean, Michigan's got to play.
Yeah, what are they, Penn State 2 weeks or something like that?
Yeah, they got to go to Happy Valley.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be a hard game.
But I don't think much of Penn State. So they keep gagging up every freaking important game they ever play.
Yeah, but I mean, here's the other thing, though. Penn State's got Singleton, and he'll give Michigan problems. And I think if Drew Allar is having a good day, remember, Drew is a true freshman. He's going to be really talented for Penn State. Like, Penn State's going to be a problem next year and the year after with Drew at the quarterback position. But, if Drew is able in Happy Valley to rustle up something good against Michigan, like Michigan's going to struggle. Like, that's going to be a hard game for them. But I'm looking at Purdue potentially being a problem because Purdue's offense isn't terrible, and they got Hudson Card at the quarterback position. So I'll be curious to see if Purdue can move the ball against Michigan. But Penn State, that's your first test. Maryland's got an explosive offense, and then you got Ohio State at the end of the season. But Ohio State's offense hasn't been as good as Penn State's either. So, I mean, could we not see Michigan have to play a real offense till the playoffs? I mean, Ohio State's offense is bad.
Ohio State's offense isn't that bad, dude. They have the best receiver in the country, period, without a doubt. And then the quarterback hasn't been terrible. He's kind of come around. I mean, are they what they were with CJ Stroud? No, but it's his first year as the starter too. Look, they would worry me. They've got really, really good receivers. Their running back's been pretty good. They're just not as blow you out of the water good as they were a year ago. Again, the difference is they don't have to be. They have a defense now that can shut you down, and they've been, not that they played a ton of people either, but they can shut you. They did play Notre Dame. They won that game. They've actually had a couple of wins. At least they've had somebody on their schedule. Unlike
Chicken, you have season ticket. You watch a lot of football. I'll just say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a situation I'm watching. Ohio State, Michigan. Does Ryan Day get fired at the end of the season? I would love for Ohio State to lose that game and then Ryan Day to go win the national championship, and for Ohio State fans to really be contemplating themselves.
Do you realize what that man? Ohio State fans are like.
The thing is, Ryan Day could go win the national championship, and they'd still talk about firing Ryan Day. That's the crazy thing.
No, they wouldn't.
No, I don't know. Ohio State fans are crazy.
If he wins the national championship 2 years from now, they could be talking about it. But
However, though, I think Oklahoma fans would probably act the same way if Oklahoma lost to Oklahoma State 2 years in a row.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you know that.
Oh, it's time to move on. BB ain't it.
You're only supposed to lose to those guys every 6 or 7 years. That's just how it is. If that.
Then Oklahoma State fans don't know how to act when they win either.
Yeah.
It's pretty terrible. All right. Well, let's go ahead and wrap it up. We've been on here for an hour and 16 minutes, and the Thunder are playing, and I'm curious to check out this new court on TV. So, yeah. All right. We'll tell everybody where they can find you
at CFB-pod. It's the Hall of Fame College Football with Jason and the Coach. And then you can find us on hofmedia.us on the internet, or just on Twitter at JW_HOF. Thanks for having me on, man. Appreciate it.
It was great having you on. Thanks for jumping on last minute, guys. I literally put this together last minute. So
thanks everybody for coming out and checking us out. Make sure you guys hit that like button.
Oh yeah, hit the like button. That's important too. It's a live stream. I'm a little bit more relaxed with that stuff. Yeah. All right, let's hit the spinning wheel of death.